MarTechTalk, the live webinar with no presentations, no PowerPoint, just talk.
Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, whatever your time zone. Welcome. This is MarTechTalk, and I am your host, Kevin Crane. Welcome to the show. Today, we are here talking about ways to be part of the retail and e-commerce MarTech transformation. Now, look, a transformation is underway, with consumers increasingly demanding personalized experiences and seamless interactions across multiple channels. Businesses are turning to marketing technology to unlock new avenues for engagement and loyalty. And when it comes to retail and e-commerce transformation, there are a number of important techniques and technologies to consider. Starting with some of the technology, customer data platforms can aggregate and analyze customer data from multiple sources, providing a comprehensive view of each customer. And this enables retailers to deliver highly personalized marketing messages and offers. Behavioral analytics demystifies this purchasing behavior. And in today's MarTech environment, these tools can predict customer preferences and tailor product recommendations accordingly. Winning strategies also leverage integrated campaign management and platforms that facilitate coordination of marketing campaigns across multiple channels. And cross-channel tracking uses analytics tools to track customer interactions across those channels, helping businesses understand the journey and optimize the touch points. There are so many other factors to consider. Marketing automation that can help automate workflows for email marketing, social media posting, and ad placement, for example, and AI and machine learning driven tools that can automate tasks like customer segmentation, content personalization, and even dynamic pricing strategies. And look, all of this adds up to the potential for enhanced customer engagement and improved customer loyalty and retention. But how do you do it? Well, that's what we're here today to talk about with a great panel of guests. So get ready for another great episode. But before I introduce our guests, I do want to say that we want to hear from you too. We'd like to encourage everyone attending today to participate. So please join in with your comments in the chat section. And if you have a question along the way for our guests, just jump on in and enter them into the chat feature. That's where I'll be looking, and I will attempt to get some of them into the flow of the show today. And we'll also have a few minutes at the end for your questions. All right, let's get down to it and bring aboard our great panel of guests today, starting with Greg Armshaw, Senior Director of Strategy at Brightcove. Greg, are you with us today?
Hi, Kevin.
Hello,
Good to
Greg.
join you here from Singapore today.
From Singapore, I was going to ask where you were calling in from. From Singapore, Greg Armshaw. Greg, it's so great to have you with us today. I'm looking forward to having a chance to speak with you in more detail today. Also joining us today is Peggy Salz, content strategist and founder at Mobile Groove. Peggy, are you with us? And also joining us today is Neha Dadbadwala, head of MarTech at Seek. Neha, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Greg, how are you? Thank you for having me. Joining you from Melbourne.
It's so great. Hello, Neha. It's great to see you today as well. All right. Neha, Peggy, and Greg, welcome to the program today. Listen, we have a lot to cover today, so I'd like to start quickly here by drawing our attention to an article published recently in Forbes titled "When Universes Should Collide: The Critical Connection of Commerce, Tech, and MarTech." The article emphasizes the need for a seamless integration of commerce, technology, and marketing technology. The author advocates for what they call creative commerce, which is a concept that blends traditional and digital retail experiences to enhance customer engagement and satisfaction. The article highlights the importance of reducing friction in the buying process, and technologies like artificial intelligence, artificial reality, and virtual reality are playing crucial roles in this transformation, as does leveraging video platforms like TikTok to create meaningful connections between brands and customers. So my question to the group today is, what do you think about the article and the critical connection between commerce, technology, and MarTech? And what are some practical strategies that we can use to achieve this sort of seamless integration of these elements? Greg, I'd like to start with you if I could today. Greg, what are your thoughts on the article?
Yeah, I think it's a good article written by a lady who leads an agency in the space. I was drawn to one of the quotes, which I think was Jeff Bezos, who have obviously, Amazon done a wonderful job of combining the sales process with a MarTech background. I think we're all well familiar now with the dialogue and the conversation around retail media. Jeff Bezos and the Amazon team have turned that MarTech element of Amazon into close to a $50 billion business now. So, yeah, it's clear that there is a very strong relationship between, doing business online and being able to retrieve and leverage the data which is generated by people going around that purchasing path.
And what are some practical strategies that you feel that we should be thinking of right off the bat when it comes to achieving seamless integration of these elements, commerce, technology, MarTech, that really can move the needle when it comes to e-commerce evolution?
Yeah, I mean, speaking from this part of the world, it's very much a mobile-first environment, and the CTOs of the various platforms and commerce environments, etc., need to make sure that the tech that is going into these platforms is light. Not everybody has a new phone from California. Many of them are on hand-me-down phones using Android in different markets, etc. So there's just a very strong need to ensure that the technology is light and it's going to work in any given market, even in maybe environments that struggle from a connectivity point of view. On the back end, though, that they also, if you're going to introduce any new technology into your platform, you need to make sure that it integrates with the other platforms that you're working with, so that the data can be passed around and utilized, whether it be emphasizing a data lake or moving out into more AI type use cases. So we focus a lot on making sure that we're integrating with the best in class solutions in market.
Now, Neha, I'd like to come to you. You're head of MarTech at Seek. What are your thoughts on this article and the connection between commerce, technology, and MarTech?
Oh, the lines have become so blurry, Greg, over the last decade. When we talk about marketing technology, it is not a single ownership. It's a coming together of the understanding of the customer journey, how it is getting lit up by technology, and then how you realize revenue out of these journeys. And I think our panelists have already agreed that it needs to be light, it needs to be integrated, but also the data silos still exist. And how do we break down these silos and bring that data to the forefront of digital experience is where my mind is always. And how do you do it best with technology are the ways where MarTech can really enable the teams to go faster to market.
When it comes to breaking down those data silos, what are some practical strategies that we can use to break down those silos and really make a difference?
The best way to first approach is to talk about data in a singular format versus in different ways. Each of these teams have a very different perspective about what is usable data. I think if teams can come to an understanding of data is across the three teams, are we understanding of how customers digitally experience our experiences, like on the website, and be able to decipher what matters to them in terms of KPIs. So ultimately, the definition of what data is to each team, if we can bring that together in one single view, that would be the most practical way to understand where we want to go and capture more data or how we want to influence the data going forward. So having a data dictionary, having a single source of truth, having reports that are consumable across all teams that understand it correctly and have the same definition would be some practical ways to go forward with this.
If for those of you that are with us today, you can see a link to the Forbes article here in the chat feature. We suggest that you check it out. Let us know what you think. The article is titled "When Universes Should Collide: The Critical Connection of Commerce, Tech, and MarTech." So, all right, very good. Well, Greg, And Neha and Peggy, I'd like to move us into our discussion points for today. Starting with where your customer journey isn't dealing with the questions shoppers need answers to before the purchase. This is sort of getting back to what the article was talking about, removing friction from the process. And Greg, can you describe this process, the whole idea of customers having questions and not getting answers? Can you describe this situation and the real world impacts of this? It seems simple, but it has big impacts to the friction of the process and ultimately perhaps the profitability of my organization. So what should we be doing about this?
We have a need. We've got a certain number of questions that we need to answer before we make a purchase. I think there is a reality that there is a price point in every category, and that's a personal price point for you or for the shopper, where actually maybe too much questioning doesn't happen so much. So so you'll buy without really interrogating the intrinsics of a product or not. But above a certain price point, then most consumers are going to, most shoppers are going to start to investigate more and try and answer some questions. And one of the ways that, while you may have converted a sale in an e-commerce environment, the number of returns that you're getting in that environment also means that maybe you've not answered those questions fully. So if you think about it, okay, so what is it? What is the category I'm in? What are the questions that need to be answered? There are several ways, there are many ways. I think there are 11,000 different pieces of MarTech software now to enable customers to find the answers they need. And obviously search is a big one. But once you've actually got potential shoppers onto your site, you want to keep them there and you want to keep them engaged. And one of the most engaging ways of doing that is through video. And video is effective for communicating a large amount of information in a short period of time, but it also allows you to really keep the customer or the prospect in that environment for a longer period of time. That helps with your SEO, so helps more people come and find the answers to those questions at the same time. So it's that kind of concept that we find our customers coming to us. We need to answer these questions. How do we do that most effectively? And how do we do that over a long period of time? And it's then that they choose video.
Okay. All right, Greg, well, I want to ask you more about the use of video here in a moment, but I understand that we do have Peggy now back and active. Peggy, are you with us?
I believe we do, Kevin.
Aha.
Yes, we do.
It's just a matter of pressing the right button or swinging a rubber chicken or whatever it takes to get that microphone working.
It was just refresh.
All right, well, very good. Well,
Peggy, we can reboot the conversation. How about that?
All right, great. Well, it's great to have you with us, Peggy. I'm glad that we get that figured out. All right, Peggy, I want to ask you a little bit about this first discussion point. Along the customer journey, customers have questions. If we don't get them answered, it can cause a great deal of amount of friction in the process. We can lose the sale. What are some of the most common questions that shoppers have, and what should we do about those?
Interestingly, I was also seeing some articles and some things from Cannes about that. And I think it's exciting that the more we go forward, the more we go back. We sort of go full circle. And it's really very much now about brand utility and, to the point of the article, brand consistency. So I think that the focus needs to be on offering value and understanding the value you offer as a brand. And sometimes that connection can be something as simple as the actual emotional connection. Reading that people gravitate to brands that offer them, for example, calm, or a feeling of warmth or security. These are sort of universal requirements. And I think that answering that in how you present yourself, but also then the questions, anticipating those questions. So answering the questions about, what do you offer? Why is it important? Anticipating the questions that the customer will have. And I think that, of course, is where AI comes in. Chatbots are going to be very important, to Greg's point, absolutely video, but at the top of the funnel, I think it's going to be more about those predictive conversations and those very flexible logic trees that answer the questions really, not the chatbots that are frustrating us currently, but the ones that are answering the questions about what do you do, how do you do it, how do you differ. I think that's a great place to start.
How can we avoid having customers having questions in the first place?
And that's really hard. It depends from your offering to offering and experience to experience. But having to have customers self-identify is one way to go about it, especially on the web page. Instead of offering them too many things, maybe have them answer a couple of questions ahead of us putting them into a certain bucket. This used to be possible maybe 10 years ago when we used to have rotating banners and you could click on a banner, then you would fall into an experience. But if we can identify customers' needs by answering a few questions up front, it'll make their experience a little bit more personalized. The other way to do this is if they're logged in or logged out and we know a little bit more about the customer, then personalization would really help us put them into an experience that makes sense for them. It can identify where they've come from or a campaign that they have interacted with or a social media account that they have logged in with and interacted with for information. Those are some ways for us.
All right. Well, look, to me, this whole discussion is really about reducing friction in the buying process. And I want to understand techniques that can help me do that. And so, Greg, I'm eager to talk with you more about your comment about using video. In fact, it brings us to our discussion point, our second discussion point today, using video at key customer journey touch points, especially including reducing returns. Tell me a little bit more about how I can use video, number one, to strengthen my customer connection, but then also eliminate the need for as many returns. What are the key techniques that I should be considering in my strategies for that?
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, so what we've seen, just to give you a little bit of context about what's happening in Asia now, and I know live commerce has been for a long time associated with China, but we're seeing the expansion, and it's been enabled through the discovery on the TikTok platform of the amount of e-commerce sales in a live environment, live video environment, really getting into measured in the tens of billions of dollars. Up until relatively recently, outside of China, the e-commerce platforms and marketplaces that we work with have done big brand experiences, but for the most part, they've invested with us to ensure that the product detail page just has an 8 to 16-second video. And this is predominantly in the apparel space, sometimes in beauty, etc., where they're using that video to just help confirm for the customer that what that sari, what that shirt, what that jacket looks like is actually what they're going to get. And if you're getting 40 or 50% returns and you're offering free returns, then the opportunity cost of saving that money by confirming with the customer exactly what it is that they're going to buy is ideal for them. So that's where we're seeing that. We're seeing more and more of embracing of that experience, just so that they're making sure that they're not losing the money on a return sale.
And what are some of the other key points along the customer journey where video can make a real impact?
So, as I say, we're seeing from the live commerce point of view that's happening right at the top. So, in a social environment, people are being encouraged. There are many brands on there. A lot of it is person to person or peer to peer, but there are many brands in that space right at the top, helping people with product discovery, etc. And the key where that's working is that people are able to purchase immediately. As you push that through, if you're a brand in this region and you're looking to sell, anything from insurance, DIY equipment and products, apparel, consumer goods, etc., video does a great job of expanding the brand experience. there was a case study in India a couple of years ago where a major shoe company were helping inform people about the type of sneakers or training shoe to wear. And they had a video experience which helped people to understand the different categories of training shoe. And they saw tremendous returns on that because they'd helped educate the customer into the particular styles of shoe and what those shoes were designed for. So really video helps throughout the journey. One of the historical challenges is that these platforms tend to be a little bit responsive and to market needs. So there's a bit of a change in bit of a latency in how long it takes to actually create that video.
Well, Peggy, that's my next question. What kind of videos do I need? What kind of style do they need to be? Is there a certain length that's a best practice? Are there other best practices that I should be considering while I'm starting to include videos at key customer journey touch points?
There are, and to Greg's point, that's part of the connection I was talking about. The utility is the education, and people are saying more and more in the industry where I am in customer engagement and customer experience that education is customer engagement. You know, I have your attention. That is the whole point. And so if I'm getting your attention by offering utility, offering education, that's very helpful. Yes, it used to be influencers in the greater sense, but it's much, much more now micro-influencers, individuals, because in addition to connection, it's about authenticity. So having the celebrities, that's the good news. Now companies everywhere and in every sector can be a part of this because it is transformational, and it's only important when we're all doing it. And the idea is to focus on what your brand stands for, because that's how you're standing out. What do you offer? What kind of brand are you? And to find influencers that are aligned with that. And micro is fine because it needs to be very personal. And there is a long tail of this content, just as there is in real content. So having more is a way of sort of pre-personalizing and pre-segmenting your audience. People are, what I'm hearing again from all of my research and work is the publisher is the new audience. So we can't go directly to the consumer, but we can go through the publisher, through the outlet on which we are present with our brands to focus on the needs of the customer. The length, the video, vertical obviously works really well because of TikTok. We look at vertical video, and length is a tricky one because we were saying that a minute and under, but then on the other hand, when it is truly educational and authentic, I've seen micro-influencers with, fairly long videos, thus segmented in parts, but make a series and make that very engaging. And even more so because you're coming back more times. So it's part 1, part 2, part 3. So I think it really depends on what you want to be telling your customer and the educational element and their needs, what you anticipate as their needs.
Greg, you had a comment?
Definitely agree on the surprisingly, some much longer videos do get incredible engagement if they're able to.
I want to know about the use of generative AI in creating video at key customer touchpoints. And Neha, I want to know, in fact, we have a question here, Neha, how can video content be personalized to target specific customer segments? And is this done, or can this be done using Gen AI or similar? Neha, are you folks at Seek using generative AI for this purpose? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, generative AI has many applications, especially around targeting, segmentation. And the way that we have been trying to do this over here is to create an ideal journey for our customer. Who would be that ideal customer in creating segmentation? What generative AI is able to do is collectively bring all the digital touch points together and provide these experiences in the journey where we feel like we need to influence the customer decision. The second place that AI really would help is around personalization through tools like a customer data platform or your ad tech, where you're providing more intuitive content as and when a customer is beginning to consume certain kind of information, whether it's on your site through a video, if they have seen a certain kind of video for more than 3 seconds, or if they have been on a page where they have enjoyed being on that site for more than a couple of minutes, then this is where AI really, really matters, where we're beginning to influence their decision and moving through the journey much more quickly, through the decision-making journey into a more conversion journey. So these are some of the examples where Seek has been able to offer our candidates and hires the right way to engage with our website and to buy our products and to interact with it. This is where AI comes and makes a big difference.
All right, very good. Now, I'm starting to use video in my strategy. Next question we're getting from our audience today is where I was going to be heading with this is how can we measure then the success of those video marketing campaigns and track that ROI? Greg, do you have some suggestions for that?
Well, I mean, so that depends on your strategy, I suppose, and what are the success measurements that you're looking for. The key one, and Peggy was talking about this earlier, was about engagement and what you're expecting from a video. One of our customers in New Zealand actually did a lot of work on, if a customer's getting the message in 45 seconds, I don't need a 2-minute video. So as they refreshed and built that kind of content, answered those questions, they got better at answering the customer questions in a certain amount of time, thereby reducing costs. But the video in itself doesn't sell. It's obviously you have to go away and you have to click a button and you have to go, click through from the cart to make the purchase. So it's really the full customer journey that you should be evaluating and seeing how that, aligned with how much of video or what other content is being consumed, how much is that is being consumed, and how it influences the purchase process. On the subject of returns that you were talking about earlier, that basically that was an assessment of, on a certain number of products over a given category. One of our customers in India was doing this, and they looked at those products that had video and those that didn't, and then they saw a difference in returns. In fact, a market difference with video. So the next time after they'd introduced video to the platform, I went around and they were having video shot in all parts of their environment. So yeah, it's about what you expect. Really understanding what your customer journey is and looking at that part of the customer journey that you're seeking to optimize. And then you need a video platform which is actually connected to your marketing stack, so you're able to get that data and understand whether it's been effective or not.
All right, very good. We are here today with Greg Armshaw, Senior Director of Strategy at Bright Cove, also Peggy Salz, Content Strategist and Founder at Mobile Groove, and Neha Dadbadwala, Head of MarTech at Seek. This is MarTech Talk, and we are talking about how to be part of the retail and e-commerce transformation underway today. Now, we've talked about video, the use of video at key points along the customer journey. We've talked about using generative AI to do that, but there are many other parts and pieces of MarTech that need consideration. Some of them I mentioned in my introduction: customer data platforms, behavioral analytics, cross-channel tracking, and so forth. So when it comes to these technologies, my next question for the group is, what are some strategies for buying complementary tech that really makes a difference and isn't just something that is making, say, the CTO happy? How can organizations avoid what you might call the shiny toy syndrome when it comes to MarTech technology? And how can I evaluate technical solutions to be sure that they are the right match? Peggy, what are your thoughts on avoiding the shiny toy syndrome?
I think that's a very simple one to do, because a lot of this technology is already there. We're just reimagining how we put it together. And I'm very excited about the developments I'm seeing in video, but as well CTV and creating, we're finally looking at omni-channel experiences. So I don't think it's so much the shiny toy, but how we are putting them together. The building blocks are not really that new. I'm very also excited about QR codes making a comeback since that monumental Super Bowl commercial that we can't forget. Very effective, but seeing more and more of that digital, physical, how do we stitch this all together? So I think the way to choose technologies is to look at what you have and not necessarily get rid of it, but try to find those places. This is a journey. So where are those friction points? Where are people dropping out? Where are they not coming back? Where is the frustration? I'll just share one other technology I'm examining and very excited about because it makes total sense. And then you see this and you say, why didn't we think of that? Well, there is a few companies. One of them is Conversica I'm looking at, where the whole idea is that, yes, we need to be offering utility. That starts with something as simple as a chatbot, getting that it's part of the journey now. And through Gen AI, it can be predictive and truly assistive, but it also needs to carry your brand. So we're looking now at how AI can influence and be part of that conversation so that your brand experience that you offer from beginning to end is consistent. And that in and of itself, I think it should make the CTO happy because it's stitching this all together with existing technologies. So I'm saying here is that it's not about the pieces, it's about the whole. And I think getting it right excites everyone at C-level.
Well, Neha, Peggy makes a great point. How can organizations transform already with the tools that they have already?
Yeah, I think Peggy is asking the right questions. It's not what we need, is how can we use what we have today? And the other adjacent piece of this is like in the experience, if there are friction points that we are trying to enable our customers to get back into the journey, are there truly technology gaps? Is technology today not meeting those expectations for you to enable that customer journey beautifully? And only if then you actually have a technology gap. So it's the CTO and the CMO and the commercial officers coming together to understand that we own this journey together. Can we repurpose what we have? Is it meeting our expectations to go to market and meet our customers? If not, only then look at what is missing in the technology. Can we buy it? Can we grow it? Can we build it? What's the deal? And while buying complementary tech, I think we've got to look at, and there is so much out there, but what most CTOs are looking for is, are there native integrations available with the new technology that we're trying to buy? How easy it is for us to train our people? How easy it is to continue doing reporting across these different hybrid sort of setups? Are we going to get the right information that we need to fill those gaps or not? So those are some of the ways where I think everyone, including the CTO, would become very happy about buying new complementary tech.
All right. Greg, we've talked about
Can I ask you a question?
avoiding. Greg, go right ahead. Yes.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, how important is that native integrations element? It sounds like it's a deep conversation that you're having. So how important is that when you're evaluating new tech?
It's a number one, because if you think about doing a integration that is going to suck up a lot of your organizational time and resource, it hinders the company's decision completely, right? Especially we're not at the wealth of time. Most companies want to have something enabled and capability brought into the hands of someone to use it within 3 or 6 months at the maximum. So that native integration is really important. Even if there isn't one, and when vendors have to create one, if the vendor companies have a way to enable something short term while working towards the long term, those approaches also work beautifully. But the vendor has to be brought into the vision of the success of that customer. At the same time, be able to support you throughout the implementation process. So if you don't have a native integration, have a team that is willing to work with you across your success and getting you that capability in hand very quickly.
Very interesting.
All right, very good. Now, Greg, my listeners tell me that they can sometimes struggle to get the support that they need to innovate. They may have some great ideas for process improvement, but it can be difficult to demonstrate the value of solutions or approaches that they're proposing, and especially link those to the key performance indicators of the organization. Let's face it, not everyone is in the C-suite. The whole organization is from the C-suite to the basement. So what are your suggestions and recommendations for our listeners that may be struggling to get the buy-in and support that they need to innovate? How can we evaluate tech solutions and demonstrate their ROI in ways that will get us that support that we need?
So it's a great question. I'm just trying to think in the most efficient way of answering it. Clearly, we're in, especially in parts of Asia where I'm sat at the moment, the customer journey is changing almost, quite regularly. So, having a good understanding of that is clearly important. And then understanding the impact of each step in that customer journey. What we're seeing more and more now is that our customers are questioning whether using marketplaces is, because of the cost of using marketplaces increasing. So they're wondering whether they're able to drive more and more organizations onto their own platforms rather than selling product off platform. So one of the benefits of having your own platform, it's not just making a sale, but increasing the visibility and discovery of that platform. So mapping out all of the benefits is important. So how do I improve my SEO? That's a certain amount of value. How do I improve the process from site arrival to checkout? What is the value in that? I think it's really understanding and being open. I know we want to be seen as being the expert, but there are so many organizations out there that can help you in each of those steps that you can just ask good questions and evaluate those steps, and then lay out your metrics for success and what you expect to happen. And if it doesn't happen, take that as a learning experience and iterate in that way.
All right, we are here. This is MarTechTalk. We're here with Greg Armshaw, Peggy Saltz, and Neha Dadbadwala. If you have a question for our panel, now would be a good time to pop that into the chat feature. We do have a few minutes here in just a moment for your questions for our group. But before I move to that, I have one last question, and I'd like to open it up to all three of you today. And it goes back to the article we were talking about earlier. And the article was really talking about how important the roles of AI, artificial reality, and virtual reality are or will be in transforming the consumer shopping experience. So to the entire group, anyone that you feel you have an opinion about this, how do you see these technologies evolving over the next few years, and what impact do you believe that they will have on both online and in-store retail experiences? Anyone?
I can share a concern rather than just being optimistic all the time, because it's just okay. Well, I believe in the utility of these technologies, but I also believe that we're looking at an area of using AI that I have as a concern, but I'm also reading increasingly articles in Ad Age and Adweek and elsewhere. So agencies and brands are also having their concerns, and that is that it's so simple to say, well, with AI we can just scale creative, and isn't that a great thing? But those ads are sometimes quite misleading. They're calling it malvertising now, which I think is very interesting. And also, in addition to that, the excitement about influencers, because we need influencer marketing. This is about retail. Retail is an experience. Greg talked about it, Nea, as well. But do we want to have AI and created, scaled influencers? In other words, virtual sort of influencers? That becomes a question for me when it comes to, are the artificial AI influencers going to be endorsing products? I have a real issue with that. So these are just some thoughts about the technology. I'm excited about the utility. I would welcome a discussion about authenticity.
Greg, Neha, do you agree?
Yes, I totally agree with Peggy's concern about authenticity.
Go ahead, Neha.
Thank you. I think we're already struggling with like data privacy and digital footprints and how we measure that, and with the added knowledge that AI would have about a person and how they think and how we predict how they think, there is a larger impact on the privacy portion of it, which concerns all of us. We had the Google deprecations of not having cookies, and that was the first step, and now we have other data privacy laws in every region. So scaling, it does become harder. We also don't have any governance around how we use some of these technologies across channels like website or messaging or emails, etc. So there's a larger concern there. But what excites me about virtual reality is the closeness to the experience that you want the customer to have can be done in such a wonderful way, completely 360 immersive experiences. If you're thinking about like travel, if you're thinking about how something would look on you when you buy something, how it'll feel, I think giving that immersive experience to the customer takes away from all the blockers that you have in decision making. So that excites me, that we'll be able to kind of come closer to that point of decision making and experience, but definitely impacts on privacy laws and other pieces.
Okay. And Greg, in the time that we have left, what do you feel, which advancements in MarTech technology do you feel will have the biggest impact in the coming year or two?
Yeah, so on the AI question, what I'm excited about, and I do worry about it taking over everything to a certain extent, but what I'm really excited about, sitting in a region with, depending on your scope of the region, up to 13 separate markets and associated languages, etc., is the ability to transcreate that content in a very short period of time. Even things like live video now can be translated on demand. That kind of transcription, being able to use AI assistance for scripts, etc., when you're doing video creation, I think that is actually quite mature now. Certainly not for all languages, and you do have to have some human curation to make sure, or human editorial controls to make sure you avoid some of the mistakes and the issues that still exist with the AI solutions. But as a side buddy and an assistant to video creators and content creators in multi-language regions, I'm really excited that it's going to unlock a lot of value very quickly, especially for brands not working necessarily with significant budgets, because I think it's going to be game changing. And I don't necessarily know that it's going to be a virtual reality human influencer, but certainly the scripts that people are sharing and ensuring that they're hitting the right marks in the appropriate language is probably going to be mopped up quite quickly.
All right, very good. Well, Greg, Peggy, Neha, we have reached the action item round of the program. I'm wondering, in just the short time that we have left, if each of you could please provide us with one quick action item that we can use to take advantage of the ideas and advice today. Peggy, I'd like to start with you today, if I could. Do you have an action item for us?
Start small, step by step. Look at where you are losing customers from the journey and examine that. And I have a great anecdote to show just how sometimes simple this can be. So I was discussing this with a large app company with an app, and it was, well, they're falling out of the journey, a fintech company, very simple. They're leaving the funnel. What is wrong? And it was like, oh, it must be the marketing. We're not getting the right people in, looking for these deep reasons of what it could be. But it was actually the UX of the app itself, and asking at the right time to input the right information, and taking into account that people might be doing this on the go. It is a mobile device, so they would drop out maybe in inputting all of this massive information. That's very important. But examining that and saying, okay, it's not a fault of anyone. It's the context of the customer at that point in time. And we need to then have a communication, a notification or other that says, come back in and finish, which is exactly what they did when you would remind them to do so. So looking at those points where people drop out and addressing them in sometimes just a common sense way. Maybe it's a notification, maybe it's a simple, ordinary communication to keep people, to stay top of mind with your customer. So that's my thought.
That is Peggy Saltz, content strategist and founder at Mobile Groove. Peggy, it's so great to have you with us today. Neha, do you have an action item for us?
Yeah, my action item is don't build a Ferrari without the driver. I know there are many tools out there today for us to use, but think about the people who are going to drive that Ferrari and train your folks and get the right resources on your team before you start venturing into adoption.
Very well. That is Neha Dadbadwala, head of MarTech at Seek. Thank you, Neha, for being with us today. And finally, Greg Armshaw. Greg, do you have an action item for us today?
Yeah, echoing those, start small, work with a team that's local to you and is going to help you in that process of deploying the software, but also make sure that the software works with the tech that you're already running. And you may have discounted video in the past, but now, with that AI, we were just referring to the ability to produce and create video either internally or with your agency partners is reducing in cost, and the time needed is reducing all the time. So revisit video, because really there's no better way to answer customer questions with an immersive experience like video.
Very good. That is Greg Armshaw, Senior Director of Strategy at Bright Cove. Greg, Peggy, Neha, it has been really great speaking with you today. Your perspectives and advice are spot on, so thank you so much. I hope that we get a chance to talk again soon. And to everyone joining us today, thank you too. And join us next time when we return from summer hiatus on September 10th, when we will discuss strengthening stakeholder engagement in MarTech healthcare transformation. That should be another great discussion. So I'm looking forward to that. And in the meantime, if you'd like to find me, you can do so on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect there. I'm Kevin Crane. And you can check out my weekly audio podcast, Everyday MBA. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of MarTech Talk. And until next time, I am Kevin Crane saying thank you for watching. Until next time.